the late 60s. The co-ed killer was on the loose. 6 young women brutally murdered, and it seemed the police had no way of stopping it. This is how Channel 7's Eric Smith reported the story 20 years ago for Action News.
Several of the victims have been strangled. 2 were shot in the head. Several have been stabbed. They all had brownish hair, their bodies placed in grotesque positions, and apparently no effort was made to conceal them from early discovery. All but one of the girls was either nude or partially disrobed. At least 3 and possibly 4 had been sexually molested. Each of the girls died on a rain-soaked night in the desolate fields outside of Ann Arbor.
But the killer, or killers, continued to elude police. Clues were few and far between. Emotions ran high in the community as pressure was put on police to come up with a suspect. Tempers were running high.
Well, we're police officers, we're not miracles. And when we get out to a scene and find nothing but a dead body, and then start working from there, it's just not that easy.
And it didn't get any easier for police. In July of 1969, a 7th victim was discovered. Eastern Michigan University co-ed Karen Sue Beineman's body was found in a wooded ravine in Ann Arbor Township. But with this murder, police had evidence, and they eventually made an arrest that shocked the community.
We want to announce that one John Norman Collins, age 23, of 619 Emmett Street, Ypsilanti, has been arrested and charged with the murder of Karen Sue Beineman.
The arrest of Collins became even more bizarre when police explained how they obtained the evidence.
A gentleman named David Leik, who happens to be a corporal in the Michigan State Police, returned to his home. Leik, L-E-I-K, returned to his home with his family after a 2-week vacation in Wisconsin and on Beaver Island. Upon his return home, the family again occupying the house, discovered that things in the house were not proper, not as they left them. Got in touch with his commanding officers immediately. The defendant in the case, Mr. John Norman Collins, is a nephew by marriage of David Leik.
The trial lasted only 20 days, and Collins never took the stand in his own defense. The evidence against him was largely circumstantial, but the jury came back with a guilty verdict. Collins was given a life sentence for the murder of Beineman, and although he was the main suspect in the other 6 murders, there was not enough evidence to take him to trial. John Norman Collins was scheduled to appear with us live this morning, direct from Marquette Prison. But late Friday, prison officials changed their minds, citing security reasons. Instead, Marilyn was allowed to take a video crew to Marquette to interview him inside the prison walls.
John Norman Collins has been in prison for almost 20 years, and from the beginning has to give his side of the story as he takes the stand here on Kelly and Company. John, did you kill Karen Sue Beineman?
No, I never met Karen Sue Beineman. I never picked her up on my bike. Never took her to my uncle's house.
Doesn't it bother you being called a serial killer?
Yes, it does. It's bad enough being convicted of one thing that you didn't do without being labeled for something that you haven't done. See, I think what happened was, after I was arrested, he said, and the police who would candidly not have their name mentioned in the article would say things like, you know, well, we can't prove that he did it, but we know he did it. And the media's picked up on this for 19 years. And all it did was take the monkey off of their back and put the monkey on my back.
You know, that whole Ann Arbor area at that time was going crazy. They were getting frantic.
I was concerned.
Were you?
I would walk fraternity brothers' girlfriends home. I walked a fellow's wife home from class, went into her apartment, checked her apartment, sat with her until her husband got home.
I remember very well. It was like if they didn't pretty soon find who it was, I'm sure there would be a few jobs lost. Is that true?
Governor Milliken, the day before I was arrested, put the state police in charge and told them to call in the FBI. This upset Sheriff Harvey, this upset Prosecutor William Delhay, this upset the Ypsilanti State Police, this upset the Ann Arbor local police, because everybody was working against each other rather than working together. And then the next day I was arrested.
You were identified as the fellow that was on that motorcycle when Karen left that wig shop.
When the police came And she and the lady that she was working with did a composite. Now this is part of the transcripts. And the descriptions that they couldn't get together, they couldn't agree on the hair. Now this lady is a beautician. This is what she does. This is how she makes her livelihood, cutting hair. And she said that the man on the motorcycle had curly hair. She stood by that. She had said that her and her husband had been out several days earlier looking at bikes that was the exact same bike as she saw the person on, and those were 350 or 450 Hondas with square mirrors. I had a Triumph with a round mirror.
I remember correctly, didn't she?
And she wore glasses, and she used them for distance, and she didn't have them on at the time. And then, prior to the lineup, Sheriff Harvey took a half a dozen pictures down and asked her to identify these pictures, and she couldn't. She said, I can't, I'm not sure. He said, well, this is the man we arrested for the murder. Now, that's inflammatory, okay? The next morning, they do the same thing. Another officer comes down there and shows her another half a dozen pictures of me. He said, this is the man we've arrested for the murder. Will you identify him? She says, well, I'm not sure from these photographs. So then they hold a lineup without my attorney present. They pull me in. I'm the last one in out of 5 people. No resemblance to anyone that even fit the sketch at all. And I tried to get a copy of the photographs that they had taken, but they said they couldn't find them because it was really a comedy of errors. They took me out from the last one. They put me right in the middle, and as if to say, you know, if you can't identify him from the photographs we showed you, here he is. And they did all this without my attorney even being present.
Now, you knew that they were looking for you. They were closing in on you for 3 days before they arrested you. Why didn't you run?
I didn't do it. When I got back Sunday, and they questioned me for those 3 hours, and then they brought me back, I had every intention of cleaning out my apartment of all excess of motorcycle parts, which Arnie Davis knew about because he was a participant, okay? So he knew what the box was, and I took it out and I dumped the box. But there was no shoes, there was no, I really wasn't worried about...
There was motorcycle parts,
yeah,
you said.
I was worried about the trailer, I was worried about the motorcycle. I was scared, don't get me wrong. I was definitely scared because they told me, well, you know, we have a witness that you were on a motorcycle and she was on your motorcycle at a wig shop. And I said, you know, and then they said this as they were bringing me back. I said, well, why are you bringing me back home then? You know? And had I been guilty, I definitely would have left. That would have been an indicator for me to leave, and I definitely would have left.
Would you, going back then, if you could go back there now?
Would I leave, knowing what I know now? You betcha. Yes, I would.
We'll have people in the audience on Monday who,
Well,
some
here,
will
tell
be
me that I
good,
dated
some will
their
say
daughter.
you're wonderful, and the others will say they know you killed Karen Sue.
That's something that they'll have to decide for themselves. I'm not out to change anybody's mind. For the 19 years, you've only heard one side of it. I'm giving them another perspective.
That's John Collins' perspective, and here to tell us what they believe are Doug Harvey, former sheriff of Washtenaw County. He investigated all of the co-ed killings and was in charge of Collins from his arrest and through his conviction. Neil Fink was John Collins' attorney during the trial. And Eric Smith, Channel 7 reporter who covered the murder investigation and the trial.
And when we return, we'll get not only their facts, ideas, and opinions, not only on the case, but also on Collins' guilt or innocence. Stay with us.
What really goes on behind those closed doors in Washington and in Lansing? Well, a lot of it has nothing to do with politics. Maureen Dean of Watergate fame, along with Lansing watchers, join our show. And if you'd like tickets, call now at 827-9336 and reserve a seat.
I get a chance to see Don Regal in action in the Senate, firsthand, close up. And Michigan sent a real leader to the Senate in Don Regal. He was there when we needed to protect Social Security and to save Chrysler and to put teeth into that trade bill. And no one works harder, produces more for his state than Don Regal. He's made a tremendous difference for Michigan and for all of us.
Senator Regal, working hard for Michigan.
You can quit smoking in less than 60 minutes. This is Dr. Paul Adams, National Director of the Positive Changes Centers. Our certified hypnotherapist can help you to quit smoking with one private hypnotic session. To ensure your success, we offer a one-year program with unlimited visits. Save money, save your life. Call Positive Changes at 291-3360. That's 291-3360. And ask about our weight loss program. We have offices in Taylor and Troy.
It's the Battle of the Rosies.
This Rosie's got the big towel.
This Rosie's got the quicker one, Bounty.
And they're off.
Bounty is the quicker picker-upper. See?
I better change my towel, Rosie.
But not your name, Rosie.
It happened after the prom, the attack of the taco. Hey, Dean, check out the girl in blue. Whoa! Oh, no. All over the rented shirt. Next day, Mom is steamed.
Oh, Dean, taco sauce. It's dried into the fleece.
And my luck, she's out of her liquid stuff. I run out for some, thinking I'll help. Bad move.
This is what I use.
She dumps it in, but tells me I'll be paying for the shirt because I got the wrong stuff.
Right stuff. Liquid Tide gets out lots of dried-in stains other liquids can't.
Well, guess what? This stuff worked.
If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide.
We're talking about John Norman Collins, convicted of killing Karen Sue Beineman and suspected in the deaths of 6 other women. Doug Harvey, you were the sheriff of Washtenaw County during the co-ed killings. From the beginning, did you think that one person was the killer?
Not from the beginning. I never got involved. Our department didn't get involved until after the 3rd victim. The first one occurred naturally in 1967, and then in 68, another victim, and then shortly thereafter, the 3rd victim. This is when John's name came up. And the similarities to it were the fact that most of the girls were pierced earrings. It had rained. The composure of their bodies, the wounds, etc. And we started surmising that it was one individual.
When did you start really narrowing in on Collins? What kicked that off?
A little vague. It's been 19 years, and I wasn't, being the sheriff, I was in charge of it, and I had detectives working on that particular case, and they were reporting to me. And John's name cropped up after the 3rd victim was, and I don't recall how it was.
It was Mathewson, wasn't it? Larry, the kid from EMU, didn't he stumble on him?
Yeah, but I think that came in later on, Eric. Yeah, and, but I know that after the 3rd victim, John's name came up. And then it took off from there. We had other departments involved in it. The Ypsilanti Police for the first body, and because of the missing girl. And when we got involved with the case, we immediately called the Michigan State Police, the crime lab.
Mm-hmm.
And John mentioned about how the governor turned it over to in charge of the Michigan State Police. There was nothing different changed. We'd already had the Michigan State Police there. And so everybody was a little upset with the fact that we thought it was grandstanding, but nevertheless, we wanted to solve the murders. And we
Any
didn't really
doubt in
care
your
who
mind
did it.
that he was the killer?
None whatsoever.
Tell me about the stakeout at the
On
Beineman
River
murder
Drive.
site.
We had been trying to pull this off, the theory that the killer always returned to it, because the fact that where the girls were dumped, that was not where the murder scene was. They were not murdered at that particular area or the site. And we tried it on one particular body. I don't recall which one it was, but before we had gotten to where we could do this, the word already got out to the press. The media was already. So we, Bill Delahaye, prosecuting attorney, and Booker T. Williams and myself, we obtained a mannequin from J.C. Penney's and placed it where the body was and staked out with officers surrounding the area, probably the worst area in the world. It was mosquito infested. The officers had nothing to protect themselves. And I surmise to this day that they just wanted to get out of there. They were there for about 4.5 hours. And then someone shouted they'd seen somebody running. And what would somebody be doing running at this time of the night? And someone said they think they went down and touched the body of the mannequin. And of course that was proven false. And the press just...
Had they seen some? They had seen someone running.
The officers said they did, yes. And like I say, you got to imagine being in a swampy area, and the mosquitoes were infested in there, and the officers had nothing, had to sit still. And it just, when we had the mannequin dusted for prints and so on, there was nothing on it.
Here's John Norman Collins's account of that, okay?
Karen Sue Beineman, I believe, was missing on a Wednesday. On Friday, the body was found, and a mannequin was placed where the body was. That Friday, I left with a couple of fraternity brothers and their wives and went up to Ortonville bike riding for the whole weekend. We left Friday afternoon. Now, they found the body in the afternoon. They put a mannequin there, and they put a stakeout there. Now, shortly after midnight, it was raining. A person came down the ravine, came up to the mannequin, touched the mannequin, and fled. It was raining, so the excuse was that their microphone equipment and their radios weren't functioning properly, and they couldn't, you know, catch the person. They got the dogs. They tried to chase them with dogs. They couldn't find them, and I was up in Ortonville at the time. Now, had they caught that man, I don't think I would.
Do you think the police bungled something that could have cleared Collins?
Well, there's that possibility. I mean, you can't say for sure. The dog did pick up a scent, and you know, you had police officers swearing.
The dog did pick up
a scent. Sure. He led him someplace. Led him to a party, as I recall. And you can't discount the fact that the police officers testified somebody was in the area. I mean, it's convenient to say you believe police officers when they give a story that's consistent, you know, with guilt, and then when it's inconsistent with guilt, discount it that they wanted to get out of there because there were mosquitoes.
Impression of the stakeout.
The stakeout? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Neil, then Eric.
Yep.
This is
Keystone Cops.
Keystone Cops.
Now, he got that from the Free Press. That's what they labeled it. That's...
Shame on you, Neil.
They got it from me.
Eric.
Well, they got roasted pretty well on that one. I think that's fair to say, isn't it, Doug?
Yes.
They took a real beating in the media about it. Number one, there were concerns that having discovered the body and length of time, as I recall, of notifying the family and whatnot. And, you know, it was a bold gamble, but in retrospect, at that point, nobody had anything to lose, you know. You'd have to gamble. There weren't any suspects wanting to turn themselves in. And the media and everybody in town was just very, very concerned about this, and there was tremendous pressure on them to come up with something. I think that's a fair statement.
Yes, we had to try something. You know, if we would have won, if we'd have caught him, or if that suspect was there, we'd have looked like the greatest heroes in the world. But as Mr. Fink says in Detroit Free Press, they labeled it
really scared a runner out there in the dark, one or the other.
Well, when we come back, we're going to ask John Norman Collins why he never took the stand to defend himself. We'll be back with that in a moment.
Are you a soap fanatic? Does one of your wildest dreams involve meeting your favorite star? Well, Kelly & Company wants to make your dream come true. Write us a letter and tell us just how far you'd go to meet your favorite. Write to us at Soap Alert, Kelly & Company, Post Office Box 7, Detroit, Michigan 48231. Get your letters in now.
At Thornapple Valley, we remember the way they deep-smoked bacon in the old country. Because at Thornapple Valley, that's the way we still do it today. The delicious hickory smoked bacon of Thornapple Valley. For generations, people have asked the sausage makers at Thornapple Valley about our secret slow smoking method. It's simple. You have to do it slowly. The delicious smoked sausage of Thornapple Valley.
Do you know the best way to fight breast cancer? Find it early, when you can still do something about it. Now there's a place. The women's breast centers, with the most modern diagnostic equipment available for early breast cancer detection, with a woman-to-woman approach. Call the women's breast centers for your complete test, because the best way to fight breast cancer is to find it early.
Call Women's Breast Centers, 357-2050.
He strained his back real bad about a week ago, and I had this free sample of Metapron.
I couldn't believe how fast it worked.
I had this awful headache, and Metapron fixed me right up.
I have arthritis pain sometimes, and it's nice to know Metapron is there.
I heard it's got what's in Motrin.
Metapron is for tough pain. It has ibuprofen, the same medicine as Motrin, and nothing's proven faster.
You know, not very long ago, I would just grin and bear it.
Now it's all I use.
Metapron just works.
When the pain gets tough, get Metapron.
Again.
You're gonna start it right.
Traffic's tied up.
Cause there's Folgers for you that's decaffeinated too. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Mornings brighten with mountain-grown Folgers decaffeinated. Mountain-grown coffee beans have a more enticing aroma.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Decaffeinated.
Thank you. I think we should. County Prosecutor William Dulhay chose not to be with us this morning. He was the prosecutor at the time, and he is the prosecutor of the county now. In a telephone conversation late last week, he told me that it's been nearly 20 years. He wants to put it behind him at federal and the state level. Now, turning to former Sheriff Doug Harvey. You have no doubt that he's guilty, as you indicated. 2 occasions when you thought that John Norman Collins was going to confess to you?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
My captain came down to my office in the jail and said that John was emotionally upset and wanted to talk to somebody. And so they brought him down to my office. John and I had a conversation. We were talking, and John broke down and started crying. Very emotionally disturbed and so on. And he says, "Can I get help?" I said, "Yes, you can." And he says, "Okay, I want to tell you everything. I want to get it off my chest." I had to stop him. I said, "Okay, hold it, John. I've got to make some phone calls." I had to call the prosecutor, tell him of that. We had to notify his attorney. And this took some time. The prosecutor came and with a stenographer. The attorney came and John's mother came. They were allowed to go in my office and talk to John. After they come out, after about 45 minutes or so, they come out and they says, "Okay, you can go talk to our client." And Bill Delahaye says, "Well, you'll want to be present." He says, "No, go ahead." We went in there, there was a different John Collins. Very composed, very mild. Everything was all set. And he says, "Okay, I want to confess about stealing the trailer."
Which trailer do you refer to?
I guess the one they took to California. I was really less concerned about the trailer.
Marilyn asked John Norman Collins about that Friday when she was in Marquette, and here's how he answered.
He called me up one day, and he took me up into the lawyer's room, and my attorney was supposed to have been there, and Mr. Ryan was my attorney at the time. He was really upset, and so was Prosecutor Delahaye. And he told me, he says, "John," he says, he gave me the old talk to me like his father-son thing, and told me about what Jackson was like and that I could participate in athletics and this and that when I was there. And that he would give me a steak dinner to help me make up my mind as to whether or not I would confess and help him clean up the books. He said they couldn't do any more to you for one murder than they could for the 7 murders.
He really wanted
and it
you.
would help him immensely and be a big feather in his cap if I would confess to these to help him clean up the books, and he would give me a steak dinner. And I wanted that steak dinner. I came real close to saying, "I'll tell you whatever you want to hear," because, I was in bad shape.
To his attorney, what happens?
Well, you're duty-bound to keep it within the lawyer-client privilege, and the same rules apply in our system, that the state still has the obligation of proving him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Could you have defended Collins if you knew he was guilty?
I didn't know he was guilty. I don't believe the proofs ever showed him to be guilty, but the answer to your question, if you take it out of the specific case and the ordinary case, yes, I can defend people that I know are guilty. If I couldn't do that, I would violate my oath of office as a lawyer, and I shouldn't be a criminal lawyer.
How did you and Mr. Lewis Sell, prior to his heart attack and subsequent death, plan to defend John Norman Collins?
How do we plan to defend him?
Yes, sir.
Just the way we did, by blowing the prosecution's case out of the water. And then making a determination what, if any, case we would present ourselves.
Part of your defense was keeping John Norman Collins off the witness stand. Marilyn asked him why he never took the stand. Here's what he said.
I don't know. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if Mr. Lewis didn't think I would be strong enough, or if they would bring up the business about the trailers and the...
Would you take the stand now?
Yes, I would. I really wanted to take the stand.
Who would you like for your attorney? You thought about it?
Who I would want? I don't know. Neil's pretty familiar with it.
Would you have him again?
Sure. I thought Neil was very
Did he
competent.
advise you not to take the stand?
No. We discussed all the avenues, and the trial was so prolonged, and that we were looking at the jury during the scientific evidence, and there were times when the jury was just dozing off, and they thought that the prosecution hadn't presented their case, hadn't won the case, and that there was no reason for it, that the people were tired of being sequestered, and that they didn't prove their case.
Many people believe Collins is guilty because the murders stopped after he was arrested. Or did they? More on that when we return.
Are you hooked on credit? Is plastic ruining your life and wrecking your family? We've got a show coming up that will interest you. Call 827-9336 now for tickets.
This pasta will stay good for a year in your freezer. This dried linguine will outlast most marriages. And this will probably survive the next ice age. On the other hand, Contadina fresh pastas and sauces won't last very long at all. We make them fresh, and we keep them fresh, which naturally gives them a great fresh taste. Contadina fresh pastas and sauces. Our days are numbered, but we wouldn't have it any other way.
Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus is appearing at Joe Louis Arena this Tuesday through Sunday. Don't miss King Tusk, the largest land mammal traveling the face of the earth. Tuesday, October 4th at 7:30 p.m. is Channel 7 Detroit Free Press opening night at the greatest show on earth, when all tickets will be $3.50 off, courtesy of Channel 7 and the Free Press. Good seats are available as late as showtime. Tickets are on sale at the Joe Louis Arena box office and all Ticketmaster locations. Or to charge tickets by phone, call 423-6666.
Gotta get a ceiling.
Mister, you gotta get a ceiling.
So if you're like the millions of people who don't get a good night's rest, come to Mattress Warehouse and save up to 52% on every Sealy. Just the sale for your tired body today at Mattress Warehouse. Call 277-7270 for the location nearest you.
All right, troops, it's getting to be that time of year again. We've got plenty of work to do before the Thanksgiving parade, right?
Right, Santa!
Right, so I've set up the FOPA. FOPA? Yes, Friends of the Parade Association. Enlistment is basic. If you got a couple of free hours, call 923-7400. Help make this the best Michigan Thanksgiving parade ever. Dismissed!
As Collins was behind bars, the reports of the murders stopped at the same time. Everyone felt sure they had the right man. But Collins disagrees. Here's what he has to say about that. The murders stopped when they arrested you and took you in.
And it would be similar...
The murders stopped.
No, they didn't. I don't think they did. And I don't think
You
one person...
don't think they did? Tell me.
Well, from what I understand, they didn't. If any reporter had ever followed up and checked the police files or the hospital records or followed the news articles after the trial, they would find that there was still murder. There's still murder. I just showed you the article in the paper. There are still murders. going on.
Yes, but
unsolved
shortly after that, those types of murders stopped.
Okay, now what do you mean by types? See, they referred to these as co-ed killings. Now, there's at least 3 or 4 of them that weren't co-eds. So even that is a fallacy.
Well, they said that there was a similarity. There was always sexual abuse. There wasn't.
No, there wasn't. Some people.
4 out of 7, I believe.
Okay, that shows a dissimilarity. If you're robbing stores, you're going to follow the same thing that's working for you. You're not going to shoot one person, stab another, strangle another, bludgeon another. I mean, some are raped, some aren't raped, some are fully clothed.
Foreign objects were stuck up the vagina.
That sounds like a Boston Strangler thing. It could be copycat killings. You know, it's something that, you know, there's no way that I would be convinced that one person ever did that. And it would be similar to a house on a corner, and they're selling crack, and then all of a sudden you walk down the street. Say you've been walking down the street every day for a year, and people going in and out selling crack. And all of a sudden you come by and you look in the house and it's empty. Does that mean the crack stopped? No, they just moved to another corner.
Neil, how can you defend against this unspoken evidence?
That, I think, is what convicted John, and I've always believed that. And that's why I thought there should have been a change of venue. Not because of the saturation of media coverage, but because Washtenaw County was the victim. It was on everybody's mind, and then John was arrested, and then all the publicity about murders stopped. It'd be very hard for a juror, and these were good jurors. I still believe that. It's a good jury. It was a very educated jury. Took their job seriously. But it'd be very hard to entertain the normal presumption of innocence in a case like that, even though there was no evidence about the other murder in the trial, nor could there have been. It was the unspoken evidence.
Why was he never put on the stand?
He was, John made the statement that was part of our defense, and technically that's not a correct answer. The decision whether or not to put a defendant on the stand is a very fluid decision, depending on the status of the proofs at the time you have to make that decision. The advice by Mr. Lewisell, which was advice I concurred in, was that if we could win the case in Washtenaw County, we had it won. Putting him on the stand risked losing any jurors we had on our side. We saw a downside and not an upside. You know, with Sheriff Harvey, the story he just told about John coming to him, wanting to confess, get it off his chest, a story which John contradicts, that never came out during the people's case. That probably would have been fair game for cross-examination. A lot of things can come out on cross-examination, extraneous to the case, that could turn a juror who was with you against you. And it's not a decision that's taken lightly. This was not something anybody did to get the trial over with. This was well thought out, and as it turned out, you know, it didn't work in that case.
Now, Doug, John Cohen said that there were 2 Jane Does in the morgue before he even came to trial. He was in custody. There were 2 Jane Does that were killed that nobody ever seemed to talk about. It was not written up in the press. Eric should know. Were you so enthralled with getting the man that you forgot to go after? You kind of mislaid 2 murders?
Well, I don't know.
I want an answer.
I simply don't know about 2 Jane Does.
Were there?
I don't know
there
about
were
them
no,
either.
The murders stopped.
Right, they did stop.
There were no murders after you took him into custody.
No, there was not.
There
and
was
I never
collective
promised John
silence.
a steak dinner if he confessed.
And you say you never promised? Okay, all right. John?
And when we come back, we're going to meet 2 women who play an important role in John Norman Collins' life, and maybe we'll find out if events in his childhood led to the events of his adult life.
Is Tom Monahan literally taking over the city of Ann Arbor? Some say Monahan's plans are good for the area. Others believe he is ruining the town forever. If you'd like to be a part of this debate, call for tickets now. That's 827-9336.
Make this winter the winter you install a Lennox Pulse gas furnace in your home. The Lennox Pulse furnace features efficiencies up to 97% and is backed by a limited lifetime warranty.
United Temperature Services is offering the Lennox Pulse gas furnace installed from 1995. That's right, 1995. Remember, natural gas holds a 3-to-1 price advantage over electricity. Call us today for a free estimate at 525-1930.
Attaboy, Ken.
Does your home have these problems? Windows that are not energy saving, in need of constant maintenance, hard to wash? I have the solution. Replace your existing windows with wall-slide thermal replacement windows that provide year-round energy savings. Remember, Wall-Slide is the window factory that builds, installs, and services and will never be undersold. Call us today for an in-home survey. Call 272-4400. That's 272-4400.
It's back again. The perfect sale for anyone who loves to eat. The General Mills sale at Meijer. Save on a variety of Betty Crocker hamburger, tuna, and chicken helpers, just $1.09 each. And on 9 different Betty Crocker Super Moist Cake Mixes, just 69 cents a box. And on Betty Crocker Specialty Potatoes, only 75 cents each. Special savings on General Mills products for everyone who loves to eat. This week at Meijer. Low prices every day and a whole lot more.
We've spent a lot of time talking about the murder, but we haven't looked into the background of Collins or what his life's been like since his conviction. Here's that part of my conversation with Collins. John, what was your family life like? What kind of kid were you?
I was always out on my bike playing sports someplace. I'd go from baseball to basketball to football. I think that's the only thing that got me through high school. My mother said if I didn't get good grades, I couldn't play sports. So that's probably the only reason I even graduated.
Getting back to your mother, did you love your mother?
Very much.
Were you close?
Mm-hmm. She came up just before she died. She left the hospital to come up here because of what these people did and not allowing us to be together in the hospital. And she came up here. She spent 2 days up here, and I had to literally carry her up to those gates up there. And then an officer carried her out to the car. And
Please take your time. After she died, John, did things change? Did you change?
yeah, I think so.
How?
I don't know, I just became more withdrawn.
Didn't want to see anybody? Do you hate those?
Yeah. It's almost like it's part of my makeup anymore.
You've been here how long now?
11 years, since 1977.
And the hole is a pretty bad place, right?
Well, it's not the nicest place. You're locked up 23 hours a day.
You mean you only get out of the hole 1 hour a day?
5 days a week.
5 days a week, and then
3 days a week for showers.
What do you do? What do you do in the hole?
Think a lot. Do a little bit of reading.
Do you read?
Read.
What kind of things do you read?
Oh, I like outdoor books, motorcycle books.
You're still interested in motorcycles?
Yeah. Got me in all this trouble. I shouldn't like them, should I?
I bet you'd love to drive one again.
Oh, I think so,
Think you ever will?
I don't know. I'm trying to get transferred to Canada if I can.
Joining us now to talk about the Canada connection and John's life in prison are 2 women that have come into his life during the past several years. First of all, Marlene Thompson has been visiting John Collins in prison for the past 3 years and has become his closest confidant. Jackie Callan is a reporter for the Oakland Press and recently published a series of articles on Collins. Marlene, when did you first come into contact with John?
I started visiting John 3.5 years ago, Marilyn, and how I came into contact was simply in the Marquette area. There is what is referred to as a volunteer spiritual ministry group that would go into the prison and visit different inmates. And I was given John's number, and I went in and started visiting him and became his spiritual counselor and have been visiting him ever since.
Do you think he's guilty?
No, I don't.
There's not a shadow of doubt in your mind?
There's not a shadow of doubt.
What makes you think that?
I know a man that is intellectual, concerned, and caring. I have observed him in the visiting room with immense concern for women. There are a lot of women that are married to inmates or become involved with inmates. He is aware of how they are used by inmates, and he is very concerned about them. I've been aware of and I've seen a man who, when a child in the visiting room has become overly disciplined and rises to want to go and defend that child. I've seen a man who not once is there a correctional officer that walks through, or for that matter, any of the officials, that they don't nod over, "Hello, John." He is a caring, intellectual man. He believes in prisons, Marilyn. He feels there should be prisons, but he does not believe in the way the correctional system is handling the prison system. There is no rehabilitation. There is a lot of things that go on with the inmates, and of course, because I am a spiritual counselor, I visit John, but I also visit other inmates as well.
Jackie, how did you get involved in this? I know it was your newspaper article in the series of articles that you wrote on him. What's your impression?
You know, I first started getting interested 20 years ago when he was arrested. And we had mutual friends. We're around the same age, and we knew a lot of the same people. And I was a reporter then, a lot younger reporter, but nevertheless, I got interested in the story and started checking into it and corresponding with him back in '69 when he was in jail. And sort of kept in touch over the years. This is not the first story that I've done on John. And what my impression is of John is similar to what Marlene said. Now, I don't know what he was like back then because I didn't know him then except through letters. But it did appear that there was a little bit of railroading that went on back then.
And discrepancies, maybe.
A lot of discrepancies in the investigating and in the case itself.
You think he's guilty?
I really don't know, and I don't want to answer that because I wasn't there. I don't know. I really don't know. What did you think after talking to him?
I have doubt. There's a lot of doubt because there's a lot of loose ends in my mind. There really are. I also feel that maybe in 19 years, he's used his mind to psych out everything that happened before he went to prison.
Oh, I agree with that.
I mean, the mind is quite an implement, and it can do that. I mean, child abuse, children that have been abused when they're 3 years old completely forget it until they're 35. And then all of a sudden, it's as clear as... See, that's what makes me think that maybe he did do these things.
Well, I always said if John did it, he definitely does not know he did it. I don't think it's a case of
I think you're right.
lying.
I think you're right,
I
Jack.
think either he just didn't do it or he does not know that he did it.
We have a lot of other questions for both of you, and a lot of people out there are going to wonder what your interest really is in John Collins, Marlene, and we'll be back with that in a moment.
Come to the House of Maple Oak and Pine in Livonia for the largest display of solid oak furniture anywhere in Michigan. We also have a tremendous selection of solid cherry, maple, and pine home furnishings. Save now for a short period of time on all our in-stock and special order sofas, love seats, chairs, dining rooms, bedrooms, and lazy boy recliners. You can have the home you've always dreamed of at very reasonable prices. We specialize in quality home furnishings. Country and traditional furniture on sale now at the House of Maple Oak and Pine on Plymouth Road in Livonia.
It's tough to choose the right career. There are so many choices. Whichever career you choose, make the right choice. Choose quality. Choose Ross, like Ross Medical Education Center for a career as a medical assistant. In just 28 weeks, you could be working in a doctor's office, earning the rewards of a job well done. So call Ross Medical Education Center at 277-ROSS. That's 277-ROSS. Financial aid and job placement services available to all qualified students. So make the right choice. Call now.
For the newest, biggest Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey circus ever. You'll soar to new heights of precision and daring. Your sides will ache with laughter. You'll thrill to the danger and witness the mystery of the colossal King Tusk. See it, live it, you'll never forget it.
Opens tomorrow through Sunday for 10 shows at Joe Louis Arena. Seats still available at the box office and all Ticketmaster outlets.
What do you buy? Ocean Spray.
Homeowners, let's take a good look at your kitchen and bathroom. Happy? Great. Unhappy? I'm the one to call, and here's why. Kitchens, 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 have we got a kitchen for you? One call, Tyler 87100, and we'll be out there to show you the latest in beautiful kitchen cabinets, sinks, countertops, floors, appliances, walls, ceiling, whatever. So let's go for it. One call, Tyler 87100. You'll look at it, you'll love it, and you'll take your time paying for it.
My name is Stephanie Smiley, and I've known John at Eastern Michigan University. I attended the trial. I visited him in Jackson, and I visited him in Marquette. And I believe in my heart of hearts, and always have, that he is not guilty. I'd like to ask Neil Fink a question. I'd like to know why you think that the jury so readily was ready to convict.
Well, I don't think readily is the right word. They were out about 6 days, and there was a lot of arguing going on in there that you could hear through muffled walls, muffled sounds. But I think I've touched on that. It was the unspoken evidence. It was just the safe thing to do.
I would like to know about the treaty and for him trying to get to Canada and why Governor Blanchard won't sign it.
I can speak to that. First of all, with regards to the treaty, there is a federal treaty that allows lifers to go if they are national and international citizens and if they are lifers indeed. Now, John fills all of the categories and qualifications for the transfer. He has been in court and has not gotten it yet. I feel that Michigan should uphold the federal treaty. We as taxpayers are putting out between $20,000 and $35,000 a year to house one inmate. Now, if you look at John's case, going in at 20, and he's going to be there until approximately all of his life.
Doesn't he want to go to Canada so he can get out of prison?
I feel that we should allow him to go.
Isn't it the last avenue?
That's right.
I want to know about California. If John is innocent, then in the book it says that there was a piece of fabric that the girl in California was killed with in his car.
That his car was identified as being his in California.
Right.
That the blood type is the same as the murdered girl's. Can anybody address that California situation?
California did get an indictment, a grand jury indictment. That was the end of it.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask Marilyn, when you were interviewing John, did it any time, you've interviewed a lot of people, did it any time it ever seem to you that he was holding back on something, he wasn't exactly telling you everything?
No.
Did it ever make you nervous?
No, no. We were all very nervous. We were nervous because we were afraid that he would maybe back out at the last minute. That's what we were nervous about. And being in a prison is not a very wonderful thing, and that's a very old, old prison. We were nervous about a lot of little things like that, but I never, ever had the feeling that he was holding something back.
Quickly,
honestly.
same question to Jackie. Did you feel that he was withholding
Not
anything?
at all, and I've spent a lot more time.
A lot more time than
Marilyn has, and I always felt he was very open and tried to tell the truth as he perceives the truth to be.
More from our audience after this break. We'll be right back.
One of the first things many people notice after cataract surgery is how brilliant colors are. Hi, folks, I'm Myron Florin. If the colors of flowers or that sparkle in your grandchild's eye have lost their brilliance, you need a cataract screening exam. Don't put it off. Cataract surgery is so affordable. Your Medicare and supplemental insurance cover most costs. In Southeast Michigan, here's where to call for your free cataract screening with a private physician.
Things made the traditional way. A birthday wish. Chantilly lace. Things made the traditional way you can eat. Eckrich smoked sausage. Still made with selected cuts of beef and spices. Still smoked over hardwood embers. And still handmade the traditional way since 1895. Eckrich, the very best from our house to yours.
This is an important announcement for every individual over 30 years of age. If you suffer from low back pain, hiatal hernia, poor blood circulation of the legs, edema or swelling of the feet, or everyday aches and pains, call the toll-free number on your screen to receive this free booklet by return mail. Inside is important information on how these medical conditions can help be relieved by the use of a Craftmatic adjustable bed. If you suffer pain or discomfort from any of these health problems, call now, and you'll also receive these 4 important health brochures absolutely free. They contain vital information on how to combat arthritis, poor sleep, back pain, and heart disease. To receive everything free, call toll-free.
Plus, you'll also receive free details on Craftmatic's Model 2, our adjustable bed, available at quality flatbed prices.
Call 1-800-228-1900. That's 1-800-228-1900, toll-free. Call 1-800-228-1900.
Meet Dynasty's diva, Joan Collins, on the next Oprah Winfrey Show.
Oprah, weekdays at 4 on 7.
Hi. In the book, it says that they found redwood blood stains in the basement of his uncle's house. Did they ever find blood underneath those stains?
Sheriff?
Yes. No. Not with the black paint covered up the varnish, the redwood varnish, but they did find blood samples in the basement.
This question is directed to Sheriff Doug Harvey. I don't know if it's true what he says, or John says it's true, but why did they do the shuffling around in the lineup, so he said, if that's true?
I don't know that to be true. I don't know. I was not present at that particular lineup, so I can't answer you. Sorry.
Yes.
I'd like to ask Mr. Fink. John said earlier in the program that he wanted to defend himself during the trial. Did you not let him, or what was the problem there?
You mean take the stand, not defend himself?
Yes.
John ultimately had to make the decision. Of course, it was Mr. Lewisell and my advice that we were in better shape not taking the stand than taking the stand.
Why? Didn't you feel him to be a competent witness on his own behalf?
Why?
Well, I touched upon it a few minutes ago. The case we thought was won, if it could be won in Washtenaw County. The proofs went in as, it's beyond description. You couldn't capsulize it here, but the cornerstone of their case was the hair, and that fell apart on them. We brought the true experts in, who the state's experts were relying on our experts and saying, you know, look, according to these great men and their publications, this is the same hair. It was found on her panties. These fellows came in and said, you know, you've bastardized our findings. We never said anything of the kind. If it shows anything, it's not the same hair. So
You're talking about the hair cuttings.
Yeah.
Does everybody know what the hair cuttings are all about?
The hair was the cornerstone of the people's case. Now here you have Sheriff Harvey sitting in the wings. You have Bill Delley just champing at the bit to ask John, what did you mean when you told the sheriff that you wanted to get it off your chest and you were crying? That didn't come out in the trial and stayed out because John didn't take the stand. And there were other things that were extraneous to the case that didn't come out. And, you know, it's a decision that was made at the time. Patty Hearst did take the stand, and then she ended up suing her lawyer for putting her on the stand because the jurors said that she had the case won until she took the stand. So, I mean, you know, it's easy to second guess. I mean...
Gentleman here.
Yes, I was a fraternity brother of John Collins. I also a pledge brother. And my question is directed to Mr. Harvey. Mr. Harvey, how long was John kept in isolation before he saw a friendly face?
How long was he kept in isolation?
After his arrest.
We don't have an isolation cell block in Washtenaw County. That was taken out. He was kept in a separate cell, but there was other prisoners in that particular cell block.
Okay, how long was it before he saw a friendly face?
Oh, I have no idea. I can't.
Hours, days?
Right now at Farmer Jack, we're packing a different kind of bag, a money bag, because we're giving away thousands of dollars in the United Giveaway. Play by donating $1 to the United Foundation at Farmer Jack and help us raise $2 million to help those in need. You'll get a United Giveaway game card in return. Win from over 500,000 prizes, including $5,000 instantly. And one player each week wins $10,000. Play the United Giveaway at Farmer Jack. Maybe we'll pack a bag like this for you.
Things made the traditional way. A birthday wish. Things made the tradition. Still handmade since 1895, from our house to yours. Things you can trust. An old friend. Things you can trust you can eat. Eckrich beef bologna. Fresh meat, slow cooked, every bite pure beef bologna. From our house to yours.
This is Rich Fisher.
I'm Doris Fisco. Tonight on Action News at 6, a special kind of makeup for a very special situation. Channel 7 science editor Jerry Hodak with a medical matters report that could be the answer for some people.
And you'll see how one area man is proving that at 48 years of age, you can still become a champion. We'll have these stories, the latest news, sports, and weather, all coming up tonight. Channel 7's news at 6 o'clock.
I kept getting these headaches. And then my assistant said, "Why are you squinting so much at those printouts?" I didn't mess around. Went straight to Lens Crafters.
Lens Crafters crafts your quality glasses in about an hour by putting the whole lab right in the store. So you can see better and feel better in about an hour.
No more headaches, great looking top quality glasses, and all it took was 1 hour.
Lens Crafters, custom crafted eyeglasses in about an hour. Fairlane, Lakeside, 12 Oaks, Briarwood, and Oakland Plaza.
Got the answer a while ago from the attorney says that he was not proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And that is my opinion then, and it's my opinion now. And I'm more convinced of that after seeing this today.
And why then were all the appeals turned down? To the Michigan Supreme Court, the Michigan Court of Appeals, the United States Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and the United States Supreme Court?
Appeals courts do not deal with guilt or innocence, only with legal errors.
Yes, sir.
This is directed to Sheriff Harvey. You said he was going to confess to you. Why didn't you take the confession then?
I couldn't have done that.
That's a great question. Yeah. Absolutely, you could have done it. You could have waived his right to an attorney. He could have his attorney. That is what casts doubt upon the sheriff's version. That he didn't say, "Fine, John, you know what you're doing. You have a right to an attorney." He had John, and
we're right back where we were 19 years ago, Neil. No, I couldn't have done that. I could not have taken that statement. He was a prisoner of ours. I was in charge of the case at that particular time. I could not take that confession unless an attorney was present. Now, he knows better than that.
This is directed to whoever can answer it. How true is the book, The Michigan Murders?
Book is good. I think it's pretty close. He took some liberties to make it more readable, I think, in terms of not substance but form. But I thought he did a good job.
John just recently was able to read the book. It was just handed to him just weeks ago, and he does not agree that it is all accurate. He says, as Mr. Fink has said, that some of it is true, but he just says, yes, indeed, this man sounds like an animal, but we went over it. Remember, I'm his counselor, and we've went over it. It is not all accurate at all.
Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty. Not guilty.
Guilty. Guilty.